If you look upon, we are seeing a normalizing in the European market, which is significantly slower than it's been in the past 2 years. But if you look upon our growth drivers, North America up 23% for Adidas, China up 26% for Adidas, and online up 27% for Adidas. So the key markets that we've defined for us, North America, online, and China, just continues to be very, very strong growth, where we see market share gains across, across the board.
Yeah, talk a little bit about North America, because we just came off of a quarter where Under Armour saw no growth, Nike saw no growth. In fact, business was down in North America by 6%, and you're continuing to see double digits. So is it just a matter of taking market share, or is athleisure, the category, expanding in this country?
There's no doubt that in the last probably 3.5 to 4 years, we've taken significant market share in the US by growing more than 25% every year. And what we are seeing, we're seeing partial growth coming out of the athleisure category, but we're also seeing very strong growth coming out of sport, training, running, soccer, the American sports. So it's a very balanced growth picture we have right now. And by no means are we only getting the growth from the athleisure. We're seeing, as I said, more growth coming from sports. And with that kind of growth rate, of course, we are taking market share in the US from our competitors.
What are you doing that your competitors are not?
I think in the last number of years we've had cooler products, if I were to say it that way, more innovation, like our Parley products, ocean plastic in our shoes. We've been very good at establishing our online channels, and over time we've had a number of very strong creators and also very good universities in the US that help us promote our products. So I think that we've just had the more competitive product, and maybe as the underdog have the more aggressive attitude of really wanting to win in the US.
So how do you keep that up? What do you have in the pipeline?
We think we have an exciting set of products coming out also in the future, and with the partners we have in the US, like a Dick's Sporting Goods, Foot Locker, or Kohl's, we think we're very appropriate channels. We are not in the weak mall, so to speak, so we're not going to be impacted by mall closure. And the online is only starting. The digital engagement with the consumer represents a huge opportunity for us on our own, but also with other partners in the US.
Some analysts were a little disappointed with those e-commerce numbers, still growing very fast, but about half the rate that we saw last quarter. Is it just tough comparisons, or are you finding it trickier than expected?
No, I think what we're learning also that when you're online, you need to have product launches every other week or every month. You don't necessarily need that in the brick and mortar, and that's some of the learnings we have of migrating towards becoming a more hybrid organization with an online and a brick and mortar business. Last year in the first quarter we had a lot of new launches. We've had less new launches in the first 2 months of this year, and that gave a somewhat lower beat on the online, while 27% is still an acceptable number.
As you continue to focus on e-commerce growth, how many physical stores do you plan on closing this year?
What we're looking upon is we're going to plan on probably taking a couple of hundreds out. We took about 90 out in the first quarter. And the message is really the following. The stores we have, we want to have high quality in our own stores and work with the Dick's of this world, Dick's Sporting Goods, really having a great representation of our product, and then push online. But it's going to be a mixture. We still have a very large part of brick and mortar, and we'll continue to have so. But we've got to give the consumer the best possible brand experience when he or she is in the store.
One of the ways I've been framing the fact that Adidas is beating all the competition is that you've really focused on going fashion forward and hit some key trends, including retro. Where's the trend going? I talked to Kevin Plank of Under Armour. He's doubling down on performance. Are you still going on the fashion route? And if so, what's next?
If you look upon our growth profile for the first quarter, we had an equally large growth from our athleisure part as we have from our performance part. We are clearly a sports company, but a lot of the sporting products are used also for athleisure or fashion. 2/3 of our business is sports. We'll continue to be a sports company, but we will also service a consumer that say, I want to have a cool pair of sneakers to use for work, or when I go in the gym, or when I'm going out for dinner at night. So it's going to be a mixture for us, but clearly a sports company.
Wanted to ask you about the NCAA scandal. As you know, Condoleezza Rice just came out with some recommendations. She said there clearly needs to be more oversight between relationships with your company and other athletic apparel companies and the athletes. How are you responding, and how much of a black eye has this been for Adidas?
From a commercial standpoint, less so. It's very clear that we have been fully cooperating with the U.S. authorities from day one. We greatly opposed to what's happening. We're very unhappy about it, and we have every interest to make certain that we perform and conduct ourselves according to the rules of the book, and any kind of changes we'll fully support. But I can't really comment more. We are right in the middle of the investigation. As I said, we're fully cooperating with the U.S. authorities.
But you are changing some of these practices going forward.
Oh, we're putting all kinds of controls in place to ensure that this will not happen moving forward. So that is where we are at this stage. It has so far had, as I said, no material impact on our businesses, but clearly it is not satisfactory or acceptable that these practices, if they've been taking place in our company, have been there.
You mentioned that you attribute a large part of the success to some of your creators. Is anyone more important to you in terms of your creators than Kanye West?
I think Kanye, along with others, Pharrell plays a great role also. Stella McCartney has played a great role also. So I think we have a set of creators, but clearly Kanye has helped us also have a great comeback in the U.S. Not only because of him, but also because of him.
Is that why you're sticking with him? I mean, you're facing now petitions to drop Kanye West after he seemed to suggest that 400 years of slavery had been a choice, praised President Trump, and now you've got people saying Adidas should be dropping him.
So first of all, let me just state the following very clearly. For many, many years, we have been, a member of the U.S. Human Rights Declaration, which speaks very clearly about against slavery, racism, child labor, etc. That position we've had and continue to have and promote very, very strongly. When it comes to one individual person, I wouldn't comment on it online because I don't think that would be appropriate. But I've here expressed my very clear opinion on behalf of the company, where we stand on matters like those mentioned.
Right, but how do you decide as a CEO which sponsors and athletes and creators to drop because of bad behavior or a position that you don't agree with, and which ones to keep on?
Of course, we look into, like we do pretty much all the time, look into are there violations of code of conduct, of ethics, and we'll do so with all our activities, internally and externally. So there is no difference to that, and then eventually we'll make up our opinion on what we do moving forward, and that goes for any activity that we are associated with.
Do you worry about boycotts from consumers because of some of West's positions?
I think we look upon all consumer feedback very serious. That is in the core of our strategy, creating the newest, we consumer obsessed. And of course, we look upon the feedback we're getting consumers to understand how to react. And that is not only related, to this particular issue. This is related, every day to how consumers react to our products and how we behave in the marketplace.
I know you guys have been very hush-hush, and I've tried every single interview with you to tell me a little bit about the financial details and the sales behind the Yeezy brand. Can you just fact check for us at least whether it's true that Kanye West makes more money than Michael Jordan and that Yeezy is on its way to becoming a decacorn, a $10 billion brand? Either of those true?
So I don't know how much money Michael Jordan makes, and I think it would be inappropriate for me to disclose the details of our contract with Kanye West. There's no doubt that the Yeezy brand has a fundamental impact on our overall brand position, but it's still in the bigger context of us being a $25 billion company, a small part of our company. And I think you need to look upon it in that context. So brand, yes, it is a manageable size from a business standpoint. Regarding income, that is something between Kanye West and Michael Jordan to fight out. It's nothing of ours.
Well, and all of his Twitter followers that, he seems prone to exaggeration. Kasper, just finally did want to ask you about what's going on with rising protectionism and trade tensions. Clearly, Asia is very important. China is very important when it comes to the supply chain and, of course, your customer base. How are you looking at what's been going on between the U.S. and China, and how do you position yourself so that business doesn't get hit?
So clearly, we as a global company are pro-free trade. That is point one. Point two is the biggest part of our manufacturing today is not in China. It's in Vietnam and Indonesia. So we still have a large manufacturing footprint in China, but the biggest part is in Vietnam. A big part of what we manufacture in China is for China. So should any kind of duties come up, we believe it's a manageable challenge we have ahead of us. Of course, we'll need a bit of time, but it's not something that I lose sleep overnight. But of course, as a global company, we are really for pro-trade, and we hope that we're not going to have a customs duty on sporting goods product that actually help the normal person fight obesity.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.